You guys on a break?
Well, we're on a break, Tim, until 2:30.
Okay.
So
2:30 is up. So it's 2:30. We're going to reconvene our meeting and talk about the Ben Lomond Emblem. Hey, Ben Lomond, that's where my wife went to school. Scott Mendoza, you're listed first.
That's where Scott went to school.
Is it?
Right, that is right.
Really?
Yes.
Ben Lomond, Scotty.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is near and dear to your heart.
Wonderful school.
It is
A
wonderful.
lot of
Good
great,
school.
great friends. Yeah.
A lot of good friends from up there.
Anyway, Commissioners, so we have received a phone call. This is from Doug Wimmer, a past student. Anyway, what he's described to me and what you'll see in the letter that he's prepared is that one day he was just driving around town, looked at the BL, saw what a mess it is today. So it's hard to recognize, hard to kind of tell what it is. It just doesn't look very good. So what he is asking you for is for some guidance or for an approval to move the BL as it stands today outside of the Rocky Mountain Power or Pacific Corp property, move it up the foothill just a little bit. This may be 100 or 2 feet.
So where is it today, Scott?
put it on the screen, will you?
It's right there. Yep.
Right there.
Yes.
Move where?
Just straight up the hill outside of that strip, that diagonal strip. That belongs to the power company.
Right.
So as Doug went to the power company and asked them for permission to enhance it, fix it up, just make it look better than it is today.
Right.
They said, well,
I don't think we can share.
we'd like you to actually move it out from our property.
Right.
So that's what's led him to come to the county and ask if it would be okay to move it out of their property and up onto the hill just a little bit. Yes.
So are they going to take down these trees and clean an area?
He has not said that they would do anything like that. I think he just wants to take a look. You know, if you're open to the idea, he would then take a next step, which is go up and try to find an appropriate location for it, which in talking to him sounds like it's just up the hill to the northeast.
So up in this area here.
Yeah.
Anywhere outside that line?
And probably not far. And I don't think he wants to go cut trees and cause much damage.
Yeah.
But he's outlined two options for us. One is where he would be able to move it up and out of the power company property. He would like to get students and have students and alumni reframe the emblem and basically create, not pour concrete, but probably frame it, put in sand or something so he can put large pavers. They found somebody that's willing to donate pavers, and he thinks that they can whitewash these pavers, and the pavers would be something that they can maintain easily every year. That's option one. And option two would basically be keep it where it is, but he would also ask your permission because it still sits on county property according to this. Now, we haven't gone up and located these property lines, so we really don't know for sure. But according to the maps, there's a fairly good chance that it still would be sitting on county property. So option two would be for him to basically just do the improvements. So leave it where it is, do the improvements, and eventually he would like to even ask the county if it was possible to someday light it, so they could light it on special occasions.
So how, I thought Utah Power and Light, the Rocky Mountain Power, said it was on their dirt.
Right now it's showing on their dirt because they own that strip.
Okay.
You can see the top of the B on our property, but he wants to either move it up here on fully onto our property, or option two is leave it where it is and just do the improvements.
Yeah.
Well, but I didn't think that was an option with Rocky Mountain.
Well, they're requesting. I don't think they're forcing him out. What he's trying to do is kind of comply with their request. So he said, if you guys want us out, I'll go to the county and ask if it's okay if we just move it up, and then, you know, we'll be out like you would like us to be.
Well, this is what I look at it, Gage. I don't mind them locating it on our property right there, just above where it is now.
Yeah.
But maybe east or west.
Northeast.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. And if they want to make it something nice, some paper, something like that, I'm okay with that too. And I think to get a group to do that. I'm okay with all this, except I don't want them to light that up yearly. That's something, I'm either gonna have to throw an electrical line to it and all that stuff. So that I'm not too crazy with.
Yeah, he even mentioned solar, but I mean, if it's the lighting that you're concerned with, solar wouldn't necessarily address that, so.
Oh, no, I'm not. I just don't want this to become a race that everybody's got to light their school emblem up on the hill. You know, next thing you know, we'll have Weaver up doing theirs. Then we'll have Bonneville up
Does
doing
Weaver even
theirs.
have one on the hill?
They did.
Didn't there used to
They
be?
used to be.
those?
I know Bonneville doesn't. They're
used
too
to be.
lazy to do one out there, but
I think Weaver used
They
to.
used to.
Fremont doesn't, I know that.
Fremont doesn't have a mountain. They put it out in the lake. Well, I'm okay moving it.
Okay,
Tell,
what-
maybe I ought to do that. That's a good idea. I ought to get an F out on Fremont Island.
Yeah. That's be a good spot for it.
Yeah, you need to put an F out there, Scott. You need to put an F out on the Fremont Island to go out there with the other 4 billion of your bug friends.
But
That's what we want to do, Harv.
Yeah, light it up.
I'm good with that.
Okay. What
Yeah,
he's,
I'm too.
what he's described this as today is rocks that are
What's that?
about 3 feet wide. I mean, well, the rocks aren't 3 feet wide, but what you're seeing is a pile of rocks that amounts to about 3 feet wide. What he'd like to do is go to about 6 feet with these pavers. So it'd be,
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Scott?
tradition. They used to do it. They used to get rocks up there and they'd whitewash the rocks.
the
Yes,
stack.
Commissioner.
So I've been involved in these before. I helped with the U, and it might be well for a little field experience. Somebody go up there and take a look. That thing is pounded in the ground up there with rebar, and it's not going to move, and it does really good. And they light it up on the second Saturday of every June, the second Friday night and second Saturday night of every June. It's a real nice little place up there, and so. He may want to take a look at just the overall dimension. That's something that's been kept up. It does really nice. It's and I don't have any problems with them moving them onto county property. But you know, they ought to do it right. I also have a little concern about perpetuation, how it's going to be perpetuated and taken care of in the future.
Yeah, maybe we ought to put something in there about it. It's got to be whitewashed annually
Yeah, and part of his plan
for
is
annual
to,
maintenance.
part of his plan is to work with the school, alumni, other supporters, and make that a part of almost like a curriculum, part of a class, and have something ongoing.
Is he a teacher?
I don't think so.
Well, I was gonna bring up liability. We probably ought to, did you bring that up on us? Ought to have some type of release of liability. That's my main concern. If anybody got hurt,
Okay, we'd be happy to talk to the attorneys
yeah,
Yeah.
and ask them for some kind of.
just get a release.
Okay, that's all I have with that, but if we have another second, I'd just like to go to a parcel, just to let you know.
Oh,
John,
geez.
another request.
Hold on. Let me see. I don't see that on the agenda here.
That is correct.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. We got time
See
here.
if I can-
Got about 15 minutes.
Okay, this is gonna be really fast. I just want to make sure you're aware of what. How can I need to get behind that window.
Just close it.
Oh, sorry, you're,
Oh,
Can he move that window to the other side, drag it across?
can we, I think we can.
We looked at another piece.
Okay, what do you?
Yeah, this is just
We can
another
move
request.
this.
Oh, a request, okay.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, let's see. All right, what's your parcel number?
8, 63, and 32.
So did we ever notify Marriott Slaterville that we were okay with all those little parcels they brought in,
Yes,
including the one on the north side of the river?
yes, I believe.
Okay.
I thought you
believe so.
wanted that.
I did, but after talking to you, I give up.
And I will make sure, I'll respond to Bill again and just make sure they're aware.
You know, they want that for a parking lot, and that actually is a pretty good place to put one.
Good spot for parking.
Yeah, so you know,
So let's see, this is at about
Wow.
2,000 west and 4,400 south.
Yeah.
I think that's it's in Roy City.
Roy. It's in
Roy,
Roy
yeah.
City.
Yeah, so
Wow.
really nothing much with this other than we just want you to be aware as we receive these requests to purchase. This owner wants to purchase this 7-shape parcel, and the county actually owns this one as well. So you'll be seeing that on an agenda asking for you to consider surplusing probably both of those. We haven't really gotten a request to purchase the one on the right or the east, but the other one we have. I will reach out to the landowner to the east of it and ask if they're interested in picking that up while we're surplusing the one that's shaped like a 7.
Might as well get rid of both of them.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep.
So can you see any value to the county of that?
No.
I don't really see a piece of value either.
I can't see anything there.
In fact, that almost looks like it was left out of the original planning.
When did that go on tax sale? Do you know?
I don't even remember. We can,
So we picked it up on a tax
I
sale.
think we did.
Okay,
Tax
it's a
deed.
fairly large piece, but I don't see any value.
92.
1992.
92?
Mhm.
Really? Boy, we got a lot of those, Scott.
We do. Didn't you, Scott, say we're almost up to 2,000?
Somebody said that.
We're in the, yeah, we're somewhere, we're over 1,000.
Yeah.
Over 1,000.
But so this is what I think you ought to do. This is my opinion. I'll explain it. I am in agreement to surplus that. And I also think we should contact this person and ask if they want that piece. And if they say no, then I think you ought to make this guy take all of it.
That's what I was gonna say. To me, it's all or nothing. There's no reason to have that little piece.
Okay.
If that guy,
This guy doesn't want it.
yeah, this guy ought to have first pick. If he doesn't, this guy needs to take both of them.
I agree.
I think it's a great idea. Either way, we get rid of both.
Either way, they'll be gone, yeah.
Yep. You know, that's a substantial piece right there. Frontage and everything. We might actually want to ask that guy if they give him rear entrance to his house.
Well, that's your other option.
Yeah, it is actually an option.
The
Yeah.
other option would be to have each of these, have this guy and this guy split. You know, this guy needs to keep this part. You could actually split that, but I don't know if it's worth. Yeah. I don't know if I go a lot of work to it.
If the one guy wants the entire 7 piece, I think we,
Yeah.
he's got to take that other piece as well.
Yeah.
Right. I agree with that.
No,
So we ought to give the guy on the right hand side first option. But if he refuses, then what? Then we ought to make the guy on the left take them both.
Yep.
yep, we're in agreement.
Yeah, I agree with Gage.
Okay, we'll do it.
Good.
Thanks very much.
Good work.
So that's it?
That's it.
Yeah, that one.
Well,
Guys are
I've
pretty
got one,
easy.
I've got one more thing for you if you want. Just
Sure.
Oh, you know what? EDA update?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Is that
Yeah.
okay if we give you a quick EDA update? Not that there's much there, but
I was gonna ask you to bring that up, yeah.
yeah, so EDA, I just got off the phone with them. They do have a proposal put together.
What's this ED?
EDA architects.
Oh,
Remember,
okay.
we met with Tom and Sam.
Right, I met with you guys and them.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so when we got done meeting with them, they were gonna go back to their office, put together a proposal and let us know what it could cost to have them continue to do a little bit of consulting work for us. Anyway, I just got off the phone. They have put together a proposal. They're reviewing it. Tom and Sam, they think that they will have that delivered to us this week. So we will get it to you and kind of get a little bit of guidance on how you.
All right, so last time we met, we decided that this piece behind Zions Bank and all those right along here was worth looking at.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and
Yeah.
we met with EDA and see if they'd do that. And we kind of beat this thing around and went out and walked Bill and I have been out there and some of the others have too. And we decided that that hill's dry enough that we should look at that. And those guys come in and looked at it and they agreed that it was worth the conversation. So they went back to proposal together to come forward and give us an estimate on what they think that cost to
run it
run that parking along
from
there.
from 23rd, basically behind Zion.
Right.
That and or center block. Anyway, what they'd be doing is just doing.
Can you bring that
study.
up? Will you bring that up
Sure.
on the drawing?
Well,
So how are we going to bring this up so you can see it?
will they
too?
give us some cost data as well?
They
They will.
Because we really need that to.
Well, so we were talking about this the other day. Legitimately, the number they threw at us with 38,000 a stall. Wasn't that it, Scott?
There was a wide range, but that
There was right, but that was the high end of it. And I about went crazy. I said, man, this used to be 15 to 20. And they were laughing. They said, well, we don't want to be short.
They better not be short.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
There you go, Sean.
That's it. 38,000 a stall?
Yeah. So
Makes my mouth.
when we were when we were looking at this, and this Mark Eric Thomas
Eric Thomas. Yeah.
was telling us that when they looked at it on the ground level, they viewed this as coming in, going back as far as they could be allowed, maybe even into there and back up like this and out.
This is ours. Right?
This
Yes.
is ours, right?
Yes.
This is health department.
That's
Right.
Eric Thomas's down below.
This
Yeah.
is Thomas.
Yeah.
This is ours.
Yeah.
And this is ours.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it allowed us to draw that line all the way through, square it off, and make an entrance from this level. Well, I really like that idea.
What about this?
Okay, now you go up to the next level. And that level.
Oh, so you're saying that's level 1.
Right.
Okay.
Level 2 is equal with this, and then we drive straight through. They all agreed that that would go like this, but he didn't want to mess with the end of his building, so
Yeah,
he
I
wants
don't-
to go around it
I don't blame him there.
and go like that.
But we could do something like this.
Right, yeah, all the way to
Where-
here,
So this is Zion's here, right?
right?
Correct.
God, you might even do Zion's. On.
Right.
What if you did this?
That's what we thought, just what you said, right to there,
Yeah.
and over like that.
Second
around, right. And that's really ground level from there.
Yeah.
So this drives in, nothing
Wow.
special yet.
No ramps. No ramps yet.
Yeah, no ramps, that's right,
The
Commissioner.
ramp is on 23rd Street.
Now,
23rd Street is the ramp.
they're looking into the fact that we think we can get a third level in there before we go to a fourth level.
Really?
Yeah, there's that much room. So they're gonna look into that,
Wow.
whether that's possible. The fourth and final level would be the same there, and we'd drive in from here.
So
It
this
would be ground level with this. The fourth level.
the 4th level.
And if possible, the third level would mimic the second. So you'd have to build a ramp here into the third
So you'd
level,
still have you might have a ramp here.
right on that one.
Well, that makes some sense.
It did.
That makes a lot of sense.
Well, so after our discussions, and then we met with them, that's what this proposal's about.
Yeah.
To look at that. Now, I wondered if we'd run into water problems here. In fact, I was just not sure of that after here.
Yeah.
But Bill brought up the point. He says there's a retaining wall right along there. And he says, when you walk out along that retaining wall, it's dry, never weeps. There's no moisture that comes out. So he's saying to get back into here, he thinks maybe that's possible.
Wow. No kidding.
And there's no pumps, and I rewired 2 of those buildings.
Here?
The hardware building, yeah, the Thomas Center and everything, there's no pumps or anything in the bottom of those.
Yeah. That wouldn't surprise me. I mean, those
I think that's side the
pockets of
block's
water
fairly-
could pick up. Well, we know that they're here. We know we got water
Yeah.
here.
We do.
Well, I really like
Huh.
Bill's suggestion there.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
So anyway, they thought that we could come in here and core drill a couple spots here and figure out what kind of water we'd run into. And then it'd just be a matter of designing that whole thing. And
Well, you've got, you've got Zions that will be a player in that. you've got Weaver State, or I should say Ogden City, that has a commitment for
That's
100
right.
stalls.
Yep.
So they have to be.
So we asked Eric Thomas if he'd sell that under that condition, and he said no. But he said, I am willing to work with you because they want it too.
Yeah.
So they're willing to work with us. And I assume under that condition, he said, look, we'll lease you the right to build that. So they build in some kind of a long-term.
Yeah,
But they are willing to work with us. So under that scenario, we felt like this would be worth going forward.
I like that.
So when we get that proposal, we'll present that to you.
Yeah.
Well, and so that would allow parking for all this, one. Number two, it would satisfy our requirement to have more parking. And our hope is that it would minimize the amount it would cost us. And then we talked about the entrance here, what that would mean. And Eric said, he said, if you remember, we showed a building on this side that went up and then tie into this and allowed you to come in and out of here. And he says that would allow for an expansion of the Weaver Center someday over to that area. And I thought, well, that's really good. Actually, that would allow for that.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll get us a proposal then.
This week.
Wow.
Yeah, so you'll see something there. And as soon as we get the scope of work that will be described in the proposal, we'll be able to start asking around it about getting some soil information.
Make a phone call.
You bet. So you're okay with that, Gage?
Yeah, I'm set with, yeah. I think we need to have that information.
Yeah.
ASAP.
Commissioner Harvey? Thumbs up. Okay, bud. All right, there's one other thing you said.
Just quickly. John would like to put together a solid waste subcommittee just to start talking a little bit about the future of the transfer station with him leaving. You okay with that? No? You tell me.
I want to dissolve that solid waste subcommittee.
And I mentioned that. And he's okay with that too, but he said it might be good to have some of them on that interview panel where they participated. So just putting that out there.
Oh, it is so funny.
Your thoughts.
So my comment is obviously panic, Tim.
You could say that.
Yeah. I see right now what he's trying to do. He's trying to water me down, dilute my influence. Yeah, I have no interest in that.
Okay, I will just tell him, don't schedule it for now.
So we talked, the three of us today, about that whole thing. And we agree that we just need to move forward. So Commissioner Harvey,
Yeah.
what I said that's got John a little panic here is I said that once we get this thing operational and we get the parameters on how we want it to flow, then it really ends up being a easy thing to manage, because you're just managing, are we doing it or are we not doing it? And you don't need a big engineer or somebody with a waste background or something like that, because all the decisions have been made before. It's a matter of, do we have asphalt tearing up here? Do we need to replace it? Do we need to fix some electrical, or do we, you know what I mean? Just standard operational issues. But when I told him that, specifically, we talked about the fact that Sharon Bolos showed some interest. And she has a master's degree she just got in
Public administration.
Public administration. And I said to him, I think she'd be more than qualified to do that. Well, you could just see his level go, ooh, like, no, we need somebody with some kind of an engineering background or something that has to do with waste, or, you know, but that's not the way these waste companies run things. You know, they engineer and get it all set up, and then they bring somebody in and say, okay, run it this way. We know how we want to run because we just designed it. Now run it that way. And that's what they do. And so there's a little bit of a difference in our philosophy here. And so you can see what John's trying to do.
He'll be here tomorrow morning if you want to talk.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Well, if he wants to bring it up.
Yeah.
We need to make some decisions on what we're going to do here, though.
Correct.
But Commissioner Harvey, I think I've not misstated the fact that we all want to see us clean that place up and get the tracks out and make it define our area a little more on how we're going to do that.
There's a lot of space there, and you probably ought to start having discussions with your friends over at the Utah Railway.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Last thing, I've been contacted again by Shanna Francis with the Ogden Valley Land Trust about the potential of the county granting that easement up by the Wolf Creek Canyon Trail to the land trust. We talked about this a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
We did. I thought we talked positively about doing that.
And the ultimate decision was, let us think about it a little more and we'll revisit that. She just wanted to give an update to her board. So she asked me again. I mentioned it had not been brought back up. So if she wanted to, as the Ogden Valley Land Trust, come in and approach the commissioners in a work session, she could do that. And it could be discussed more.
Commissioner Harvey, do you have an opinion there?
I thought we had a great robust discussion the last time we talked about it. And I think the opinion we had was to just kind of sit on it, because I thought that maybe we could still use it as a bartering chip for Summit Powder Mountain, the holding group there. Even if it had to do with getting some kind of something in exchange for partnership or some kind of value as it relates to, helping you with the plowing of the snow. I will tell you that we've had extensive failures at the district up there with those pumps. They've been digging down 12, 15 feet into those pumps down in there.
The pumps or the water lines?
Pumps.
So what kind of failures are you having?
Just alarms, failure alarms.
Yeah, so that's not the pump, that's the control boxes.
Yeah.
You're
Where
on
we
the
should have built
sewer-
those, where we should have built those dog houses over the top of them.
Sewer lift stations?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Okay.
control panel. So
Listen.
remember all
Yeah,
those,
I remember.
While you
those-
two are still here, that board said, well, we just can't, or somebody said the design wasn't right, or they wouldn't look right. And I said, look, we remember that dude, Scott, up there in Morgan, we went and visited.
yeah,
I'm going to go up and see him again. Tell him to get me a contractor and get me a price on that. And then I'm going to bring that back.
That was your engineer. That was Brad Gilson that said they wouldn't work.
Yeah, well, guess what? Brad works for the board, and I think I've got the votes now on the board to get it overturned.
All right.
So listen, they
so they
put
won't-
those up there and shotcrete those and call it good. And then we're done. My goal is to get the county out of that agreement. I still want to get out of that agreement. It's just
as far as
falling
I'm
flat.
concerned, out of them.
What's that?
As far as I'm concerned, we're done. We give them every opportunity to do this, and
Well-
they turned us down.
It's not done because it's not signed and executed.
And that's their problem, not ours.
It's everybody. It's our problem too.
Yeah, I don't view it that way. Not anymore. We in good faith went to them, they turned us down. It's like, okay. Yeah, that's for discussion for another day, but you're right.
That's where I'm at. I'm going to try to get those things built and get us out of this. I want to get that whole thing executed, get it signed over, be done. I'm tired of this thing keep coming up.
I agree with that.
that.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I have.
Good. All right. Well, you take this down. We'll see if Brian Callen's on there. But as far as I'm concerned, like I say, we may in good faith went to them. They turned us down, and I know it's been a year, but I'm saying we're done.
No,
Brian
No.
Callen. Oh, you're muted, Brian.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. There you go.
Hey, great. Well, boy, it's been an interesting week over the last week with a lot of new case growth.
Are you on fire over there?
Yeah, it feels like it. We're in a spot where I had hoped we'd never get again.
Sure.
Maybe to start off today, I just want to touch on public health orders for a quick minute. We saw Summit County and Salt Lake County last week initiate a public health order and requiring masks mandatory mask use in indoor settings. And here at the health department, we're starting to get calls again and emails, people asking us to consider doing the same thing. As I look at our case numbers, and if that's the only thing we look at, it does look pretty scary, quite frankly, with how fast the case numbers have gone up. But I just want to take a few minutes and kind of explain to the three of you why I'm not really ready to recommend that a public health order goes in place and requires mask use. There's some things I'm looking at besides just growth, or new case numbers to kind of land on that decision. So if I can real quick, I want to share my screen with you. Hopefully you can see this graph okay. Is that coming through?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, look at that game.
I believe I've showed this to you before. This is the 3-day average of new cases. Orange color represents growth. The yellow color is a plateau and the blue is a decline. Back here, our peak a year ago in December, January timeframe is when we were peaking. And then as we moved into January, we started to decline. And down here on the right side of the graph, this is where we're at today. And the growth in new cases that we're experiencing at the moment. And this is for our health district, Weber and Morgan counties. And you can see we've, about doubled the peak of what we had previously had up to this point in the pandemic. And that is concerning, and it's something we should watch really closely. I'm going to scroll down a little bit and share just another graph with you here. I'm looking at the bottom left-hand corner now, and you see two blue colored lines, a light blue and a dark blue. These are the 7 and the 14-day average. The dark blue is the 7-day average. So if we're looking at what's happening in our situation with new case growth, the 7-day average helps us even out differences between testing on weekends versus weekdays, for example. The 14-day average helps us when we're looking at the number of active cases. So we use both of those lines to help us make decisions. And again, here, just as a quick reference, our peak before on our 7-day average happened back in January 9th of 21. And there we were averaging 278 new cases a day on our 7-day average. Today, we're 477 new cases a day on that 7-day average. So what that tells us is there's a lot of new case growth happening. The majority of that is in the Omicron variant. So keeping that in mind, I just want to talk about that case growth. It's a little bit startling. I think some of us didn't expect that we'd ever really experience a growth like this late into the pandemic. But the changes in the Omicron variant really have made it a much more transmissible virus, about 2 to 3 times more transmissible than the Delta variant. And that's what we're seeing reflected in this rapid growth of new cases. There's a couple of other values we look at to help us make decisions over here at the health department in what we're experiencing. So earlier today, I met with the state, all the health departments met with the state health department, and we talked about our testing capacity. And we're doing about 40 to 45,000 tests a day in the state of Utah right now. And we feel like that's at about our capacity. That's using all the resources we have available to conduct tests in the state right now. And that's why you're seeing, some of the news reports about hour-long waits, or the state making the decision to hand out at-home test kits at testing centers, so people don't have to wait longer than an hour to get test done. We've kind of reached that capacity. Now, understanding that can translate into an artificial plateau in our case growth, because we can only conduct so many tests a day. So over the next week, if we start to see that our case numbers level out and we're not seeing that new growth, we're going to start looking at some other criteria to help us really better understand what's happening with the disease growth out in our area. And that one of those.
So you're saying the reason that you can see that plateau is just simply our ability to do tests.
Correct. Yeah, we just can't do more tests. So when we hit that point, we'll switch over and start watching the percent positive numbers. And that's how many, we do 1,000 tests a day and 500 of them are positive. Then our percent positive test is 50%, for example. When we reach our testing capacity, but we notice our percent positive tests continue to climb, that is an indication that we're still experiencing a high rate of disease growth in our area. And what's happening is people that are symptomatic are going and getting tested, but the people that have mild symptoms or no symptoms aren't going and getting tested because it's become inconvenient. So we're going to watch that indicator as well as I make decisions here at the health department and provide recommendations to the three of you. But we're also going to watch our hospitalization situation. I'm switching over now just to a different graph to give you another visual to look at here. This blue and orange graph here, kind of in the middle of the page, this is our daily count of number of hospitalizations. The blue are non-ICU hospitalizations. The orange, or the pinkish color, if you will, are the ICU numbers. And over the last 6 weeks or longer, I'm reporting to you guys that our hospitalizations are staying pretty consistent and in a little bit of a decline. And over the last 2 weeks, we're still seeing that same pattern. So and that's good and kind of follows what we are learning about the behavior of the Omicron variant, that it is more transmissible, but the disease burden appears to be less. People can still end up in the hospitals. People are still dying from the Omicron variant, but the rates are less than compared to the COVID variant, or to the Delta variant, sorry. And our hospital data is reflecting that as well. So that, as we talk about these public health orders and whether it's time to utilize that tool or not, one thing I'm looking at is our hospitalizations. We know we've been maxing them out at their capacity, and we've strained them for several months now, but we're not adding, with our current situation, we're not adding any additional burden to the hospitals. If we were seeing an increase in hospitalizations similar to that increase in growth that we're seeing with new cases, then I would probably feel a lot more comfortable about utilizing that tool of a public health order to try and address the issue and see if we could stop the growth or bring it down, and then also take the pressure off of the hospitals. But where we're at today, and that the pressure on the hospitals are still consistent with what we've experienced over the last few months, I'm not sure I'm ready to use that tool yet. And maybe just a little clarifier, I respect the power of mandates and the tool that it provides us as a government agency. But I also respect that it impacts people differently and to a great degree. And I think it should be used with caution and a lot of respect. And coming from that perspective of myself, I think that's why my first recommendation today to the three of you, or the first thing I tell you, isn't that I'm ready to issue a public health order. It is, my intent was hopefully to explain to you some of the things we're watching and the tools I use to help make those evaluations. And if the day comes when I need to approach you and say, I've got this public health order ready, part of it is a mask mandate, and I think it's necessary. It's because we're evaluating these things in our community and feel like we're to that point in the game where we need to use it. So, and I appreciate your time kind of letting me explain that to you and understanding my position. We're, as we look at our numbers, we're up to 55,740 total cases of COVID in our area now. That's an increase of 3,426 cases over last week. And that's the biggest increase in a single week we've experienced, more than double what we've experienced up to this point. I talked about our 7-day average and our active, how we look at that. We currently have 5,667 active cases that we're monitoring in Weber and Morgan counties. So, and again, more than double what we've experienced to this point in the pandemic. Another indicator we watch is the deaths in our area, and that is staying within the same range of what we've experienced over the last year. That number is up to 373, only 4 additional deaths that we've added over the next week. So another example of an indicator we watch here at the health department that helps us make decisions and provide the guidance that we provide. If again, just like hospitalizations, if we were seeing a change in deaths from what we had experienced and that number was going up greatly, then my recommendations would be different. But I think with where we're at now, we managed to this point over the last several months in that range, and I think the activities we're doing probably are adequate for that situation. I showed you the graph about our hospitalizations, but let me give you the numbers. 27 out of 30 ICUs currently being utilized, so 90% ICU use. 292 out of 455 hospital beds in our area being used, that's 64%. Something we are seeing as Omicron has started to make its move across the United States is that hospital bed use is going up slightly, but ICU use is going down slightly, and that's reflected in our current numbers as well. There's 49 total hospitalizations in our 2 hospitals associated with COVID right now. Our schools, we are experiencing that same growth in new cases at the school level as well. Earlier, I talked about some issues we're having with the testing capacity at the state. Well, one more nuance that is going to change in that testing capacity this week is several schools are reaching their test to stay threshold in the state. And when that happens, because of the legislation, we have to direct our testing resources to those testing events at the school, which means we have less resources available for the general public. So that's another shift we'll see over the next 2 weeks, more testing done in school age demographics versus general population. And one way that could reflect in our statistics is higher positive cases in the lower age demographics than compared to the past. So we'll watch that and be aware of kind of that nuance. In Weber County, we've got one high school, Fremont High School, where we are approaching the test to stay protocol. There you go. So we have their threshold, their 2% threshold is 42 positive cases. We've got 35 confirmed and 5 more that have been reported that we're trying to confirm before we initiate that test to stay process. So I here at the health department, our staff and working with the school district staff, we're prepared to initiate that test to stay event this week if we exceed that threshold. We've got everything lined up to move forward as soon as we hit that number. We've got one other high school that has hit its 1% threshold, Roy High School, so we're watching that one closely, and one charter elementary school that's to their 1% of their threshold. As I've talked to other health officers earlier today, along the Wasatch Front, we're seeing a number of schools that are reaching their test to stay thresholds. Our numbers seem to be a little bit lower than what they're experiencing in Salt Lake and Davis and Utah County, which is good. But over the next couple of weeks, if we exceed those thresholds on a couple other schools, we wouldn't be surprised. So That's kind of our report. I get my report for this week. Hopefully a little bit different than past weeks, but I wanted to take the opportunity and explain a few numbers to you and what we look at over here at the health department as we make these decisions. Oh, and that I have one more bit of information. Let me talk about vaccination rates real quick. We are getting, oh, it looks like I might have. The 5 to 11-year-olds, we've vaccinated, at least given one dose of the vaccination to at least 19% of their population. So a little bit of growth there. The holidays slowed that down a little bit. We've got some clinics scheduled the rest of this week and early into next week. So we're hoping to see that are focused towards the pediatric vaccination. So we're hoping to see some good growth in that area. 12 to 18, we're at 61%, 19 to 29 is 65%. And the 30 to 39 is at 64%.
Hold on. What was the one from 19, what?
18 to 29.
Okay.
65%.
Okay.
And 30 to 39 is 64%. 40 to 49, 75%. 50 to 59 is 79%. And then the 60 to 69, 90%. And the 70 and older, 96%. So still doing everything we can to get people vaccinated and get their boost doses, you know, so to help protect themselves from this variant. And maybe just kind of the last thing to touch on, last week, the health department did issue a statement reminding everybody of what steps they can take to help mitigate that risk. We're 2 years into the pandemic now, so I hope everybody's heard the message before, but we know it's important to continue to reinforce. Vaccinated, that's our best tool, right? And get the booster doses when you qualify. Excuse in public settings, in indoor public settings is a very effective tool to help reduce that risk as well. And then, oh, maybe I should mention is there was one change in the quarantine and isolation guidance that came out last week as well from the CDC. There's two folds to this guidance. One is to get people back to work quicker so that we can keep workplaces functioning, the workforce working, and our schools open as well. Positive case, they're asked to quarantine at home 5 days, their positive test, and then return back to normal activity with a mask for 5 days. Someone in quarantine, that's a person that's been exposed to a positive person, they're asked to quarantine for 5 days and then return back and monitor for symptoms, return back to normal activity with a mask for 5 additional days. The exception to that is if a person is fully vaccinated. If a person's been fully vaccinated, there's no guidance for them to quarantine. They can continue on with normal activities. Now that 5 days, not only does it help us with some of our workforce issues, but it's also based on what we've learned about these viruses' behavior and the infectious period. A person's typically most infectious or has the most potential to spread the disease 2 days before they're symptomatic and 3 days after. And that's really where that 5 day window is coming from that guidance. That's all I've got today.
All right, that's a pretty good report. Questions, Commissioner Harvey, you got anything?
No, Brian, I'm in your statistic pool. I'm self-quarantined till tomorrow, and then I guess I'll be out and about with a mask for 5 days, even though I've been fully vaccinated.
Yeah, Commissioner, I heard that you weren't feeling well. I'm glad to hear that you're doing well and following that guidance. And we are seeing with this Omicron variant lower effectiveness of the natural immunity and the vaccinated immunity. It's still the most effective tool in preventing it. And we're learning that the vaccinated people have much milder cases of the disease than the vaccinated people or unvaccinated. So
I really don't think there's much side effects, actually, really too much.
Lucky looks perfectly normal to me.
Yeah, that's right.
Feeling really
Wondering if
pretty
that
good.
might be- Maybe that's
That hair
side
growth.
effects of the medication, Jim.
So, Commissioner Ford, you got any questions?
Yeah, so Brian, a good report. Couple of questions. So I'm assuming if you did a health order, part of that would be masking, mandate mask. Would that be correct or?
Yes, Commissioner, I think that's really, as we look at a mandate or what we would require people to do out in the public, the most effective tool would be to require mask use in public settings. And that's, I think we're still at a point where our community should be making those choices on their own to protect themselves and each other without that mandate in place. But as we watch these numbers, if the hospitalizations in particular go up, then and we need another tool to help get cooperation in our community, with that mask mandate tool.
So with that, I think, didn't Salt Lake do a mask mandate a week or so ago? I'm just wondering how their numbers compare, as a percent.
So Salt Lake and Summit County both issued a public health order that included a mask mandate. Salt Lake's went into effect Saturday morning. So it's a little bit too early to tell what kind of impact that mandate will have for them. But we'll watch that and report back accordingly.
I'm assuming you'll keep an eye on those because that will probably give us an indication in terms of what the trend may be. Thanks, Brian.
High concentration in a small geographical area. I think I heard on the news they account for more than 50% of all the new problem. So for the state.
Well, let's see. Tim Vandenak's on the phone from the Standard. Timmy, you got any questions for Brian?
Tim, you there?
I don't see him unmuting. Apparently, here he goes.
There he goes.
Hear me now? No.
Here
Covered my questions. So thank you.
That's okay. When I see you on there, Tim, out of respect for you, I know you're going to put something in the paper, so we want to make sure it's right. So we appreciate that. All right, Brian. Hey, look at that little Tim. They can see his face.
Tim, he's got his mask on.
That's right.
You won't have to get after him, Brian. He's a believer.
Yeah, well, I'm in the same situation as Jim Harvey.
Oh no!
I'm a little long. I'm like on day 9 and a half.
Wow. Oh, we're sorry to hear that, Tim.
Wow.
Hope you get feeling better.
Feel fine. Thank you.
You bet. All right, Brian, thank you. That's a wonderful report. You do a good job. We appreciate you.
Commissioners, take care.
You bet.
Thanks,
Bye.
Tim. Thanks, Brian.
Well, okay.
What do we got here? Cool session.
Yeah, so we have a closed session coming up. I'm not really sure why, but Harv, do you know what this is about?
No, nope, I can't. I'm going to leave it up to you, Mr. Chair, our fearless leader.
Well, I don't either. Let me ask to see if
Well, who we got?
nobody's listed. Hey, maybe they just put down a case. I'll find out.
Yeah.
So, Shelley, the last item on our agenda here was closed session. You know what that was about?
Saunter for a couple minutes, Harv.
Sauntering.
Okay.
You know, Christy, what that is? There's nobody listed, you know. And there's nobody sitting here to this, so. We'll just assume it was in case. Oh. That's what we do it after.
Do we know who put it on? But, okay. You know who
You guys don't have anything you want to talk about?
Nope. Oh, did she? Oh, we've covered everything we were going to talk about, so.
that I requested her to?
No, I'm just saying, she might have been told that,
Oh,
Somebody wanted
You
to-
know, that goes. Okay, thanks.
yeah. Anyway, so it's gone away.
Yeah. Well then, Commissioner Harvey, this concludes our meeting. Is that okay with you?
So we don't have a closed session?
Oh, we don't. They think that was put on there just in case,
Placeholder.
placeholder.
Okay. Boy, that was a great report from Brian Cowan.
That it is. Boy, you can see we're dancing right on the edge here.
Well, Fremont High, it sounds like
I
they're
know.
5 away.
But it makes me happy to see that the hospitals haven't rose
Yeah.
a lot.
Hospitals.
So we're seeing kind of what everybody else is saying, that this more infectious, but not near as harmful.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard that from a couple sources.
Yeah.
So tell me both of you two, how's the skiing been?
Well, I haven't been up yet, but
Are you
Well,
kidding me?
I was golfing this weekend, not